Well, good day and welcome to lesson 53 in our study of the book of Mark. Today we're still in chapter 12, and this is verses 13 to 17. And this is a fairly well-known portion of Scripture when it talks about giving to Caesar what is Caesar's and giving to God what is God's. But it's important to understand the background behind all of this. If you recall, Jesus was in the temple. He had upset the money changers' tables the day before. He was back in the temple. There was some confrontation between him and the Pharisees and the scribes, and he had given them a parable about the wine dresser, how he had sent a parable about a man who owned a vineyard, who sent his son to collect money from the vine dressers. They hurt the servants that he sent. Therefore he sent his son, and as they killed the son, and the people, the Pharisees and the people from the Sanhedrin knew that this parable was about them. This is what we went over last time. So they went away, but they didn't stay away. And this next section is the first part of 3, in which they tend to trap Jesus, or they tried to trap Jesus by being hypocritical and by showing how much hypocrisy was really in the system back then. So verse 13, it starts, they, being the Sanhedrin, sent to him some of the Pharisees and the Herodians to catch him in his words. Now they wanted to trap Jesus, and this is interesting because this is the first part of the hypocrisy. The Pharisees were very religious individuals in the Judean system. They loved the law of the Jewish system. They loved the temple. They loved the regulations. They had all sorts of commandments which they developed, which they made up, in order to keep the laws strict. So they were very much in favor of the Jewish law and culture and system. The Herodians, on the other hand, were very much in favor of the Roman law and Roman culture. And it was from the Herodians that the actual King Herod came. So there were two different groups here who really antagonized and disliked each other immensely for the various beliefs. But in this case, because they both disliked Jesus, they were now together. So they came, the Herodians and the Pharisees. The Pharisees were there in case they could trip Jesus up on some kind of Jewish law, and the Herodians were apparently there in case they could trip Jesus up on some affront to the Roman law. So they both came together to catch him in his words. And when they came, they said to him, "Teacher, we know that you are true and care about no one, for you do not regard the person of men, but teach the way of God in truth." Now, this is obviously very hypocritical, because the Pharisees did anything but believe Jesus was teaching the truth. They believed that he was wrong. They believed that he was against the Jewish law, the Jewish custom, the Jewish commandments. They disliked Jesus intensely for this reason, and because he was undermining their authority. So to say that we know that you are true is flattery, and nothing but flattery. We know that you teach the truth. We teach the way of God in truth is also flattery, and nothing but flattery, in an attempt to build him up to what they want to lead him into. And then they say, is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Shall we pay or shall we not pay? So this is a build-up to this question. And this question was really a trap. Because Jesus, they determined that Jesus would answer it was legal or it was not legal. If they said it was legal for him, if he said it was legal for Jewish people to pay taxes to Caesar, then this would undermine his credibility with the Jewish people who hated paying Roman taxes. And if he said it was not legal to pay taxes to Caesar, It would undermine his relationship with the Roman authorities. And in either way, in theory, the Pharisees and the Herodians would come out on top. So this was the question that they asked: is it lawful to pay taxes? And Jesus knew this hypocrisy. He, knowing their hypocrisy, said to them, "Why do you test me?" He knew he was being tested. He knew he was being that they were trying to put him into a corner. But he was ahead of them. And this was only the first of 3 tests that they had laid out for him, because now the Pharisees and the Herodians were there. The next test were the Sadducees, and the next test were the scribes. But right now, Jesus knew he was being tested. So he asked them to bring to him a denarius. Now this was a Roman coin, a silver Roman coin, which at that time bore the image of Tiberius Caesar, the emperor of Rome. That was an image because the commandments, the Jewish commandments, said, "Thou shalt bear no graven image, nor would you bow down and worship them." And Tiberius, being one of the Roman emperors, was a demanding of emperor worship. So, in theory, no self-respecting, pious Jew would even carry one of these coins. So we don't know where they got it from, but they did bring one to him. They brought it. So this coin was worth about a day's wages in those days. It bore the image of Tiberius Caesar, and most of the coins had the inscription, "Tiberius Caesar, son of the divine Augustus," indicating again that Tiberius, the emperor, was a divinity, was a god, and was to be worshipped. And this was totally anathema to the Jewish people and Jewish leaders. But they brought a coin to him. He looked at it, and he said to them, "Whose image and inscription is this?" Now it was quite obvious that it was of the emperor, of Caesar. And so they replied, "It is Caesar's." And Jesus then said, "Then give to Caesar, render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's." Give the taxes. All governments are apparently, it says according to the Bible, established by God. Therefore, we are to honor governments, even if we don't necessarily agree with them. Honor them as providing they do not go against the law of God themselves. But as a basic rule, we are to honor governments and respect governments. It says other places to honor the king. So Jesus said, this image is Caesar's. Pay to Caesar those things which are of Caesar. But then he added, and to God the things that are God's. If we go back to Genesis, it states that we are made in the image of God. Therefore the silver denarius, the silver taxes, the monetary taxes belong to the government. But the people who are made in the image of God, which includes ourselves, belong to God. Therefore, to give to Caesar the things which are Caesar's, and give to God the things that are God's. The image of Caesar goes to Caesar. Those which are in the image of God should go to God. This is an answer that Jesus gave, and it stymied the Pharisees because it was not what they expected. They thought Jesus was backed into a corner, and Jesus turned the tables completely on them. This short section indicates how much hypocrisy was in this culture and in the Jewish system at that time. and how he overcame it by stating a very simple precept. Give to Caesar, give to the government the things which are the government's, but give to God ourselves, because we are made in the image of God. Give to God the things that are God's. That's really the essence of this short section. We'll get into the next section next week in the Bible study. Thanks again for watching, and bye for now.